We know that long-term sobriety requires establishing healthy habits that become a part of your daily routine. Figuring out what your habits need to be is an important part of the recovery exploration process. What works for one person may not work for another. But what we do know is that routines and habits are key for maintaining recovery for the long term. In this podcast episode, we invite Matt, Ian, and Meghan to join us in a conversation about how they've found a set of habits that fit their lifestyle and their sobriety. Listen, and you'll walk away with a whole stack of ideas for things to try and ways to incorporate them into your life. And maybe, most importantly, how to stay motivated to keep the habits no matter what's going on in your life.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and that recovery isn't just rewarding, but it's also a lot of fun. We're your hosts, Julie and Steve. Listen as we get together with friends to shed light on the hard things, talk about the other side of addiction, and how we create a life so full there's no space left for alcohol.
One of the best ways for incorporating new habits into your life is to bring in someone to hold you accountable. In one-on-one recovery coaching, we work to discover what habits need to be incorporated in your life to make your recovery sustainable, and we will help hold you accountable as you build a routine for consistency. For more information about one-on-one recovery coaching with Steve or Julie, visit our website at throughtheglassrecovery.com and click on Online Recovery Coaching.
All right. Hello and welcome to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast. This is episode 131. We have some fresh blood for you guys tonight, which I think is super cool. And we've been hanging out here a little bit, laughing already. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. It should be a great conversation. We will, as always, start with intros. And since Matt is here and he's like the most regular of regulars, like we might as well just move in at this point. Anyway, do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. Matt, I am from Burnt Hills, New York. I'm just a dad. I know Les will probably be like, don't use just there, but yeah, just a sober dad doing kind of sober dad things. As far as sobriety, I celebrate 2 years tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoop, whoop.
So cool. Yeah, looking forward to celebrating that with you. And thank you so much for being back. It's always nice to hang out with you. I'm going to go with Meghan next.
Well, everyone, I am Meghan. I have been sober for almost 19 months. February 10th, it'll be 19 months, was the day that I started 75 Hard and stopped drinking from there. Started my YouTube channel, Sober Strong. I have 2 kids and I am a wife of an Army vet.
also, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah. Well, my podcast, you can find on many platforms. My YouTube channel is Sober Strong, and then on Spotify it's Sobriety Uncensored. I'm also on Apple, iHeartRadio. My podcast is bringing people's stories to life, and or whatever you call it, to life. I bring people's stories on my YouTube channel. That way everybody can relate with somebody, save a life, help somebody, encourage somebody, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's helped me stay sober.
Yeah, I hear that. I know that this for us is just a huge piece of our recovery. So yeah, and Steve and I actually were both recently on Megan's podcast. I don't think those episodes have come out yet, but we will post those on our social media and for sure check the show notes for links to Megan's podcast and all of that other good stuff. So yeah, looking forward to having you here since you were so kind as to host us recently.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And last but not least, we've got Ian. How are you?
Awesome. Ian Fee here, 7.5 years sober. Seattle, Washington is home, and a little bit of Arizona when I get a chance. Just recently wrote a book, Wild Ride to Sobriety, to just get my story out there to make an impact on people to be a better husband, father, son, daughter, and just be raw with my journey and make an impact on people. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. And again, reminding our listeners, check our show notes. You can find links to Ian's book and all of that good stuff as well. So you can kind of get to know him a little bit better. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you guys tonight. For our topic, creating healthy habits is one of the foundations of lasting recovery. In fact, every relapse prevention plan, you'll see a section for habits that the client will implement into their lives in order to support their sober lifestyle. So, what habits have been valuable for your recovery? And more importantly, how did you implement them and get them to stick? I'm guessing we're gonna, we always have lots of people who are fairly new to sobriety, and I think this is one of those topics that they really probably need to hear a lot about. So I can't wait to hear what you guys have to share with us. Anybody is welcome to start. We'll just dive in.
This is where you're allowed to break the awkwardness. Megan's already going.
All right. Well, I personally started my journey with 75 Hard. I was personal trainer beforehand, so I already knew like eating healthy, working out, the whole those whole habits. But 75 Hard was just task orientated, and if you fail, then you have to start over. And I was like, not failing. Which then led me into about 3 weeks into my journey, my 75 Hard journey. I was like, I'm done with alcohol, dumped it all down the drain, and I felt like a relief. It was absolutely amazing. But through that, I realized that the biggest habit for me was changing my alcohol choice, or like my alcohol drinking habits, to like sparkling water. I'd put it in a wine glass. And to this day, like, you can go back to my very first video titled The Drinker, and I talk about just putting anything besides alcohol in a fancy glass. And to me, it works. I drink my pre-workout out of a wine glass. I'll drink like, I mean, and I've been doing that for a long time, but like, as long as I have a fancy glass, like even going out to restaurants, club soda lime, and you find like which restaurants actually have the better club soda, like the more bubbly one. I didn't go into NAs for probably at least 9 months. I didn't drink NAs because I had my own thoughts on that, but whole different topic. So that was one of the biggest habits that I changed, was just what was in my glass. And I think that really helped me because I drink coffee. I've drank coffee, and I used coffee as a crutch also to help me quit drinking, just like I helped it with my sugar cravings and losing weight after my daughter. I just think having something in my hand other than alcohol really helped me. And then reading personal development, listening to personal development, just implementing just so many healthier habits really, truly helped me. Working out obviously is detrimental. I mean, not detrimental, but like it really helps you like stick to it, helps you get healthy. And just like getting outside, like the walks were very crucial for me. Going on those 45-minute walks outside in the very beginning, I noticed that I kept doing that for at least a year and a half, until the weather got crappy. Um, so like walking outside, at least, like, I notice now I don't walk 45 minutes all the time, but at least getting out there 10 to 20 minutes. Um, not rain. I'm sorry. I'm a fair weather walker. I also have dogs dropping the ball behind me, so it's like scattering my
Mildly distracted.
Yeah. So, okay. So walking outside, working out, eating healthy, and replacing what was in my glass were the main, and personal development were the main things that, like, the habits that I changed.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there. When I first read the topic a couple weeks ago, I'm driving my son to basketball game, and the day before he didn't play, he didn't hustle, he just kind of lollygagged around, and he's just like in this woe is me state. And I said to him, I go, life is hard. You can do hard things and make life easier, or you can do easy things and make life harder. And that, again, kind of working with habits, right? Like when I talk about the easy stuff, drinking was easy. It was an easy habit, but it made life extremely hard. now I'm very much a person who does the stuff that necessarily I don't want to do, but it does in the end make my life easier.
Mm.
Um, so again, as usually I have a lot of notes here, but what I broke this first down to was early recovery. And for me, what the habit got me through the beginning was basically I picked one event each day, right? Like this is the key thing that I got to make sure I get to, or I do whatever it might be, show up for. And it was kind of planning everything to that point and everything after that point. But whatever it was this is the key.
Mm.
Like if I have to sacrifice other stuff or maybe not do other things to make sure that I was able to show up for whatever that, key thing might be that day, that's how I got through early sobriety. Kept it very simple. For me, it was like individual counseling, outpatient groups, stuff for my kids. It was only one thing. It was probably 2-3 months in before it was like, okay, maybe I can do two things and try to, make it work. I've said this before, like I lived in a little bubble, a very little bubble, because that's just what I had to do. Like, I mean, I was that fragile early on with sobriety.
I was most definitely a bubble boy too.
And it took a lot to expand that. But that was that was my way around it. And then another thing was, and I still kind of, this is another thing like I kind of preach to my son. It was suit up and show up and just do the best you can that day. Like there were things I was scared to death to go to or be a part of. But in the long run, it was going to become a normal thing in my life. It's just at that time it wasn't.
Mhm.
So it was showing up sober, scared to death, whatever it might be. As uncomfortable as it was like, I just got to do that. And as long as I don't drink, it's successful. It was simple little goals each day that formed habits that then carried on to larger habits, really to make my early sobriety successful.
I think that people in general, and I know this just even from, clients that I speak with and people that reach out that I talk to, people hate the idea of doing like turning their life completely upside down, turning it on its head and making every day look completely different from the way it looks right now. And for some people, they don't have to, but I know for me, everything had to look different. Like, because every part of my life, every part of my day had like habitually involved alcohol. So, I mean, when I walked into the kitchen to make dinner, I used to pour a glass of wine. I had to stop doing that. And towards the end, it was, everything that I did through the day involved a beer. And so everything had to change. Habits I had to start from scratch and completely rebuild my life. And like you said, 2 or 3 months in, I could start bringing some stuff back, but it's interesting to me how much people bristle when you're like, "Okay, you're gonna have to change the way you do some things for a while," and nobody wants to have
Brush
to
up
do
against
that.
that resistance.
Yeah, nobody wants to have to make the big changes. It's super uncomfortable, and you feel like you're letting so much go, but God, you gain so much afterwards that it's worth it.
What do you got, Ian?
Here we go. Yeah, no different than what Megan and Matt, right? It's like you got to choose your heart. I was 80 pounds overweight, which I've shown Megan some of pictures in my book. Is like I was unrecognizable, and it was hard to be fat and out of shape and a drunken idiot. It's also hard to be in shape and eat good. So it's kind of like choose your heart. No different than what Matt was saying to his kiddo. I mean, it's so true. And for me, I just had to, I used fitness and getting in shape as my new dopamine hit, right? To supplement alcohol. And I went to a pretty intense rehab. Um, so I really got distracted by alcohol. So fitness was like my new dopamine hit. And I would you don't go to the gym and be like, I'm going to work out for 2 hours. You had to like stack all these baby wins, right? Like I tell everybody is like New Year's resolutions. All these people have goals. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to lose 40 pounds. Well, that's great. But how about you lose 1 pound in 2 weeks or a pound a week and like stack those baby wins? Cause they'll work out for a month and lose a couple pounds, which is awesome, but they have 30 in their head. So they look at it as a failure. So if you can stack just baby wins in your life, no matter what you're doing, uh, that really helped me in my sober journey. And I've stacked enough that my routine is like people look at my routine, be like, you're insane. You get up early, you don't look at your phone. I go outside, I do breath work, I journal, I cold plunge, I steam, and but that all didn't happen at once. That's years of stacking little baby wins every single day. And then you look back a couple years and you're like, wow, I've stacked a lot. So stacking those baby wins, no matter what it is, and don't outreach your big goals. You know, you want to quit drinking? Quit today, one day at a time.
Yeah.
It's funny how when I looked at the habits, the change seems like it's so far away. Like if I do this one thing every day, which already sounds difficult, how in the hell is it going to pay me off in a year from now? Like, where's my payback from it? I can't even fathom what that looks like until I can look backwards and say, 5 years before I quit drinking, much like you, I didn't weigh 15 pounds before I quit. You know what I mean? I weighed 185. And then I said, once I hit 200 pounds, I'm going to have to do something. And I hit 200 pounds and I didn't do anything. Of course, I didn't change my habits. I just continued to do what was comfortable. And probably the most important habit that I changed was it had nothing to do with physically doing something other than I used to not talk about shit. And I was always too afraid to say the things that I needed to say until I changed that. And I started talking about the things that I wanted and then facing the shame of that because it felt shameful to start wanting stuff. And then facing the shame of shit, I have a fucking problem and I have to fucking do something about this because like I don't want this to fall apart anymore. And so the greatest habit that I changed, and it started right away, was talking about how I felt, even trying, because I couldn't put words to it, talking about the problems that I had, talking about figuring out how to solve my own problems. There was never a thing that I really tried to do. I tried to solve other people's problems that made me feel better, but never really my own. So I never had like this inward focus. It was always outwardly focused. And so that being one habit that I still carry around with me today.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones, and it's paid off in droves in actually having connection with other people. It allows me to have conversations that go beyond just the surface level, weather, sports, politics, garbage, stuff like that, that we can use to get to know each other a little bit and break the ice. But beyond that, I'm now a lot more okay with who I am. And I can also have some really awesome friendships.
Yeah.
And so if there's one habit that had the greatest impact was getting over the shame of being quiet about shit.
Yeah, I think I did that more through journaling. I know when it comes to habits, I freaking love a 30-day challenge. Getting sober for me was a 30-day challenge. I was like, I can do anything for 30 days. I can commit to doing whatever it is for 30 days. And then like I'll see how I feel. And I'll either like hold on to that habit permanently or I won't, and that's fine. Like I love to experiment with what makes my life feel better and what, sounds good in theory, but turns out it doesn't really serve me. So like I am a 30-day habit freak. And I know like Matt and Steve are both in this Telegram group that we have for friends and clients. We just finished up a 30-day challenge in the month of January for everybody. But I think that's been a huge part of how I figure out what habits are gonna be lasting, what habits are going to be important throughout every day. And obviously, some days I skip them, but like journaling every single day, that was something that I started in early sobriety. And that turned into a necessary occurrence. Like that happens every day now. If I miss more than a day or two, things start falling apart in my world and I can't make sense of anything and it's chaos. And I actually just released an ebook all about journaling, so I will link that in the show notes.
And shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. No, I'm like super proud of it. Journaling is hard for so many people to do. And that's one of the things that almost everybody in recovery, not almost everybody, lots of people in recovery start journaling because it opens your mind to so much of like Steve was talking about. You talked about stuff more out loud. I wrote stuff in my journal and then things started coming out and that self-awareness started growing. And then like things like throwing the ball for my dogs every single day when I'm done working, I go outside for 15 minutes and I just throw the ball with my dogs. And like it's the tiniest little thing that feels so good. I was not like I know Megan and Ian are both talking about fitness. And I know Matt goes to the gym all the time. Like fitness did not get me sober. And everybody's like, you need to exercise. And I was like, no, I don't. Trust me.
Hike. You would go hiking though. So
I
that
did hike, but I wasn't like an everyday in the gym lifting weights kind of
Mm.
girl. I am now, but that took like 3 years to get to that point.
I'm on that too. So it took me about 3 years to get to that, 2.5 years. For me, it was more the mind and working on that. And then I started noticing that what I ate was affecting my mind. So then I needed to change and that when I was more active, that I also felt better. So I had all of these little things that would happen where I would do enough of something that created a curiosity. And I think that that has literally helped me with my habits. I've done enough of something that's created a curiosity that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need to keep doing this because I feel better when I do this.
Well, I'm not gonna say exercising, like lifting weights and stuff actually was a habit because it was already a habit. I was just drinking while working out still, but walking was like probably the main exercise habit that changed. And to this day, like I never realized how important walking was. Like I was in the best shape. I mean, I quit drinking and I was walking so much. And it's to this day, I can't walk as much right now, but I noticed when I'm not walking at least a few times a week, my mental space starts getting really negative, and so I'm like, "Oh, I have to force myself to get out in this stupid weather and just so I can feel better." And now I'm like, this is what really truly helped me get sober. I mean, obviously, like, a lot of things help me, but walking and getting outdoors at least 10 to 20 minutes a day is super crucial for me, at least.
I think
A fresh
everybody's
air.
journey is so unique. I get a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys do, of like, hey, what's one thing? And like, I think that one thing, you find it, whether you're knitting, whether you're a painter, whether you're a walker, whether it's gym, or whether you're whatever your thing is, that is your distraction, not to booze, that is should be your new attraction, whatever that is, because everybody's unique. Some work out, some walk, some, like it's this, you're talking about the 30-day challenge, right? It's like, what is it? Sober January, all the drinkers. I'm taking 30 days off. I'm going to cleanse my body. Well, keep that on, right? 30 days really isn't that hard. And a lot of people do it. I mean, I think a lot of people do it to go, I want to see if I can do it. Can I really not drink for 30 days? And there's so many people that are sober curious out there in the world, or don't think they have a problem, or I don't drink that much. And the 30-day challenge is like, oh, I can do that. I'm fine drinking. But then you get a lot of people after that 30 days are like, man, I felt really good. What did I do? What was my new thing that I attracted? I spent more time with my kids. I threw the ball longer with my dogs, right? And then they forget about that because January's over and they go back to their comfort zone of drinking. And then their dog gets neglected. They don't work out as much. So everybody's so unique in like what their one thing is. Everybody has that one thing that they'll get a magnet towards. Lynn, you were talking about journaling. I never journaled till about 2 years ago when I finished my book. It was so therapeutic for me writing a book that if I don't journal every day, something's missing, which I never thought I'd be a journal. I'm like, I don't like to write. I'm not, what is it? 85-year-old ladies journal? I don't journal. Feel that.
Or is it a senior-old girls?
No, it's not. I had the same thing too.
No, I think the big thing too that I talk about a lot is routine. Like my morning routine, Ian, you talked about you have an extensive morning routine. I have the same. Like I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning so that my morning routine can be done by 8. And for a lot of people, that sounds like insanity. For me, it works great. And then I also have like a bedtime routine. I go to bed at the same time every night. I go through the same, process. I light a candle and I wash my face and I read a book and I have my things. And I think that I started both of those really early in sobriety, the morning and evening routines. And I feel like they anchor the day, right? So no matter what, you're starting the day pretty solid because you've done these things that are all good for you. And then even if the day turns into an absolute shit show, you still have this anchor at the end of the day to like bring you back to earth and remind you that everything is basically okay. And then you can start again the next day. And so I feel like just creating routines, and like Ian said, it wasn't like I threw 15 things into a routine all at once. It was a couple things here and there, but that has been huge in recovery. And that's something I've held on to since I quit drinking, was just having the routines. And I change them and I build on them and whatever based on, life seasons and stuff.
I
But
think that's something really important to talk about for a minute, is how you can choose something and it doesn't have to be permanent. Give it a try, see how it goes. This is a thing I do for now. And if it turns out to work out for you, then you can make it more of a permanent thing. There's so many times where I didn't try anything because I was so stuck on it was going to be something I'm going to have to do forever. Right? Just like drinking, just don't drink for today. As cliche as that sounds, it's all we really have anyways, and that's cliche too. But it is the truth, because I don't have tomorrow. That's not here yet. So I might as well do the best with what I have. So one of the routines, one of the things that I do in the morning is I make my bed.
Yes.
It doesn't take too long. When I get up, walk out, straighten my bed out, make it look good. And if there is anything, the rest of my day can go for an absolute shit. I've accomplished something
right.
before anything else has really happened. You go to the bathroom, whatever, come back. If I come back and I put my bed together and it feels good. It feels good. I thought that was like one of the most ridiculous things to do in the morning. It sounded goofy as hell when I read that. Make your bed and you've accomplished something for the day.
There's a book called Make Your Bed.
And I've never read it, but
It's amazing.
There is something that it feels good to get that done, and it feels good when I walk by and my bed is made.
It's actually a dopamine hit. When you make your bed, it's a dopamine hit, just so you know. Like, pick the tiniest little task and do it, and you'll start regulating your dopamine system a little bit more.
Well, it says that studies show that morning routines increase productivity and mental clarity by up to 88%, which is crucial for avoiding the stressors that can lead to relapse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge, huge piece, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, you think about it, right? Like, what do we drink for? To avoid discomfort. What does routine give you? Comfort.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you're going to get the thing that you're looking for by creating a routine. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable to begin with, but you're going to get what you're looking for by creating a routine. It doesn't even have to be a big, long routine. Mine, I don't have a big, long routine. My morning, it's pretty slow. I don't mind waking up. I like having a slow morning, but there's not too much routine to it.
Yeah.
A couple of things, and that's it. And that's enough.
My newest routine has been drinking at least 16 ounces of water before I have my first cup of coffee.
That one's on my radar, but I haven't gotten there yet.
I mean, I just been listening to or just seeing a lot of things about drinking water first thing. And I usually drink water first thing, but now it's like I didn't have coffee for at least 45 minutes after I woke up this morning because I drank 16 to probably 20 ounces of water. I don't know.
Well, you got to think how dehydrated you are. If you go to bed and you sleep 8 hours, your body's pretty dehydrated. And then you get up, you go have coffee, and then maybe after you work out, whatever, then you have water. But yeah, hydration's is super. You'll feel a lot better. It gives you actually, if you're pretty consistent, have that water next to your bed, guzzle it. It's tough. Or while you're doing your morning routine. But hydration is super important. Jumpstarts the body.
When outside out, I'm drinking water. I gets constantly next to me all the time.
All the
Well, Julie, you stole my thunder there with like the whole morning routine, end of night routine. Like I had my notes here. I wrote structure, structure, structure.
Yeah.
Discipline and a schedule. Now I'm up at 5 every morning. The 30-day accountability thing you spoke about, right? Like I still carry that on. I try to take time before I get out of bed to, ask for guidance, patience, kindness to navigate the day. And the big thing is obviously with my interactions with people, then it's some type of physical activity. And if I'm working from home, it's going to the Y. If it's, just before I leave for work, it's riding the bike for an hour or so. But it's something for me to start my day where it's just me. Like that's important for me. Like even with my kids, it's like, this is my time. If something's going on, I get up earlier to ensure that I have my time. And then it's like 9 o'clock, man. 9 o'clock is shut off time for me. But it again, like I said, structure, and it just keeps me in this routine of like, I know where I'm starting my day, I know where I'm finishing my day. And it's like I start my day with wins. So even if the day's not so great, I've already, accomplished things that are important to me. And, again, bringing my son into this, it's like a lot of stuff I'm trying to explain to him about like why daddy does what daddy does. And it's what keeps me level throughout the day. One other, I guess the other thing about like, I kind of started looking into like, of course they say how many days like to create a habit. I thought of a funny thing was that anywhere between 18 and 254 days. Like, what is that? Right? Like
My doctor told me 180 days, and I always like was a Beachbody coach, so it was like 21 days to create a habit. But then my doctor was like, it takes 180 days for your brain to really grasp those new habits. And I'm like, oh, so you're saying I'll feel better after 6 months?
Did the doctor tell you how many days it takes to undo the habit?
Literally one. So there's always one day.
with one.
All right. So I'm gonna tell a funny story. A funny habit story, because for me in early recovery, one of my morning routine habits was, and I woke up pretty early. I woke up pretty early before I went to work, and I hopped in the tub, and I had like a 1-hour bath. Just relaxed. I had 2 little kids. Nobody wants to see their daddy naked in the tub. So it was like my 1 hour of peace and quiet and uninterruptedness between like 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. Nobody would bug me in a tub. So it was my thing. Every morning, that's what I did. On top of that, while I was laying in the tub, I had my cell phone and I had my sober community. I would say good morning to however many people, and I had a really long list.
There's like
because
53 people or something.
I took connection to the nth degree.
All or nothing, Steve.
Yeah.
Like
It was
true alcoholic.
like yes, and I did. And so I would say good morning. My list got just above 60 people at one point, but I would say good morning. I would just sit there, chill, enjoy my time, say good morning to however many people, maybe have a conversation, text message. It was great. That was one of the things. I don't do that anymore. I still have a bath because I love my baths, but that was one of the things that I did that created a sense of calm and peace for me.
Yeah, we go through the day. This is probably a really good time to talk about the window of tolerance, and I won't explain the whole spiel, but The window of tolerance is something that they teach you, when you're learning about addiction recovery and in coaching and all of that. And essentially, your window of tolerance is where you're like at a fairly level, even keeled, I can handle some stuff kind of space, right? And then when you go above the window of tolerance, that's when everything is heightened. That's when you're super stressed out or you're angry or like kind of the hyper arousal that they call it. And then if you go below the window of tolerance, that's like your hypoarousal. That's when you're depressed or isolating, you're moving more slowly, you tend to, just want to lay around. And obviously the ideal is to stay in the center, in the window of tolerance. All of the stuff that you guys are talking about, all of the morning routines, all of those little habits that you do, those are what like fill your cup. Those are what allow you to stay within your window of tolerance. So you're starting the day more solid with a little bit more leeway as far as how much you can handle. Because like Matt said, no matter what happens, you know that you can count on whatever happens in the morning, whatever happens in the evening. And so all of the little habits that we're talking about, they just give you a little bit more ability to handle stress. And some of them seem so small, like little things like making your bed or whatever. But all those little things add up to make it more possible for you to handle stressors because life comes with stressors. Every single day comes with, 400 ways to get upset or mad or otherwise find an excuse to drink. But the more of these tiny little healthy habits you incorporate in your day, the more stressors you can handle without totally flying off the handle.
I got a fun challenge for you guys while I was listening to you talk. Is one of the things I just tried to start doing this year is not look at my phone for the first half hour, 45 minutes. And it's actually been a game changer because we all have phones and all our emails are on there and social media and it's something, right? You got to react to something if you're checking your phone, right? Or it's stimulating something. And if you can go 30 minutes, do whatever your morning routine is. I don't care what it is, brushing your teeth, making your bed, drinking some water. Try a half hour, not look at your phone and see how it sets the tone for your day. It is a game changer. I thought there's no way I can do that. And it's 30 minutes. It's, not much. Start at 10, maybe start at 15, whatever, start baby, but it's a game changer to have that device not dictate your morning.
That one's also on my radar. So, like, after I get off of here, I need to start committing to not looking at my phone and drinking water in the morning. Um, I'm feeling inspired. So many good habits.
Yeah, that phone one has been on my radar too, and I'm just like, but I need to check to see if I have anything booked. Like, it's just
There's so many excuses, reasons,
15
excuses.
minutes. Start with 15 minutes, whatever it takes. 10.
I have done it a few times where I've waited like 10 to 30 minutes, and I do notice those days are so much more calmer.
It's my challenge to you on this call.
I think it's great. It's a great idea.
I'll check in with you, Ian, every day, every day. You can be my accountability partner.
She's going to check in with you 5 minutes after she wakes up.
I just woke up. Look, what are you doing, girl? What are you doing, girl? Let's check it in.
Love it.
Well, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. This was a great episode. Like we talked about right at the beginning, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada.
And we're done.
We literally talked about this and it sounded so good. You guys actually shared a bunch of amazing tips and a lot of really valuable stuff. I hope our listeners find something in there. Just try one thing. It sounds ridiculous when someone told me that. I'm like, you try one thing. Like, it sounds ridiculous. Just try one thing. What is the one thing? Then I'm faced with making a choice, and when I'm faced with making a choice, everything falls off the rails because I have to choose something. Choose one thing. One thing that you feel like is going to be good for you, and give it 30 days. And see if you like it or not, and see if it benefits you or not. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a little bit difficult. We've all shared a little bit of those stories. Trust me. Trust us. Trust the conversation. It does get better and it does get easier, and it just becomes a second nature thing. I want to say thank you, Meghan. Thank you, Ian. And thank you, Matt, for sharing your thoughts and experiences with us today. I really appreciate your guys' time.
Thank you.
Evan.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please remember to leave a rating or review and let us know how we're doing. We'll see you next Monday with an episode called What the Hell Do I Do with My Time and How Do I Make New Friends?